Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 68 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie.
Hey guys.
And EJ.
Hey everyone.
And today we will be talking about 911 OG Season 5, episodes 16, 17, and 18, titled Mayday, Hero Complex, and Starting Over. We have so much to talk about, as usual.
We do.
We could be here for many hours, but we're gonna try to keep it a little bit more compact. And in order to do that, we should probably hop right into it.
Right.
Yes.
And we immediately jump into 516, so Mayday. And ironically, it starts with the May versus Claudette scene. I did not miss this.
No, and it was kind of surprising. So I guess there was like some sort of high-speed chase that like they were all sort of working on, and like you could see them watching the news and seeing it. And May had made a suggestion because like they had dealt with this a week prior, and like maybe you should like have them go down an alley or something. And Claudette just brushes it off. And don't you know, a minute later, Claudette takes that suggestion, and then Josh is praising her, of course. And then of course she's like, she's just like, oh yeah, thanks. You know, me with good ideas, something like that.
And it's May's idea.
Yeah,
And
and his comments like, oh, team player, teamwork, or whatever. And I'm thinking, I've had that happen. And I'm like, dang, somebody's got a complex about things, gotta be the center of attention, dude.
No.
Dude, we're just dealing with that. Like, we're dealing with that in different people.
Yeah.
Hero complex knocks out another hero complex. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Right.
And of course May is mad. She doesn't make a scene yet, but that's coming.
Right. Yeah.
I don't blame her for being mad, though. I hate when people take other people's credit.
Me too.
And this is me who will, granted, I try and shrug credit off to most other people. And I get really awkward when I have no one to shrug the credit off to, and it's all just me. And I'm like, thanks. I don't know what to do with this attention.
Right.
Relatable.
That's me. Okay. Like, I like getting the credit, but I don't feel good about taking it for myself if someone else was involved.
Right, exactly.
So
Yes.
Obviously Claudette has no issues with that. About that.
Like,
But so
Claudette.
again, May doesn't make a scene yet, but we know it's going to be another showdown.
Right.
I'm not looking forward to that. I kind of was hoping they were finally on an even keel, and of course
I think they were.
they
but then
were.
This happened.
But then Claudette decided to be a bitch again.
I'm like,
And-
Claudette, I was like liking you, and now you do this?
Right.
This whole episode I kept going between bitch, okay, less of a bitch, oh, she's a bitch again, slightly less of, oh, and now I kind of feel bad for her. She's still kind of a bitch, but okay, it's just, oh crap, that was kind of,
that was about how it went. Pretty good description.
Very good.
about how it
description.
went. Oh man, yeah. It was an episode. But then we're still with May. We're still following May. She gets home, tells Bobby and Athena about it, and I think she is valid in saying that she doesn't necessarily want credit, but she just wants to be acknowledged. That's valid. Like
Exactly.
she's not wanting all the credit to get thrown to her, but she wants to be equally like listed in those kind of good ideas.
Which is, yeah, totally.
It's reasonable. And Bobby, I love it. Bobby is like encouraging her to stand up for herself. And even May makes a comment how she thought they were good. And that with Claudette, it's 2 steps forward, gets stabbed in the back. And if anything's pushing her to go to college, it's her. And I do like how Athena makes a good point about doing it for herself and not for Claudette. Don't let anyone force you into decisions.
Yeah,
Obviously,
exactly.
there are some times where a situation is so bad that you need to make the decision for yourself to get out of it because of another person. But those are other circumstances. At this point, it's not that bad. It's not bad enough to warrant that necessarily. Claudette would just be chasing her away. It wouldn't be a decision she made for her own good. It's not quite to that point. So I agree. I like Athena's, definitely how Athena is doing that. May goes off to work again, and Bobby tells Athena maybe you should talk to her, meaning Claudette. And Athena's like, no. Bobby says, well, you did talk to Sue. And I like Athena going, she wants to stay out of it. And she's like, what, you mean I should ask to speak with the manager?
I love that line.
Yeah, and that's a felt lie. And it's almost always a bad day when someone wants to speak to the manager.
Right.
And at my own work, I've had people want to speak to the manager for bad reasons, but then I've had people who've been praising my work and then asked to speak to my manager, and I'm like, okay, is there something you didn't like and you didn't tell me about, or for some reason are you like complimenting the service? You're making me really anxious here.
That's literally me. Every time somebody wants to talk to me, I'm like, what did I do? They're like, you did nothing. Stop.
Right.
You're doing good. And I'm like, yeah.
Whenever my boss would come over to me, I'd be like, I didn't do it. It was just like this knee-jerk reaction.
Knowing me, I didn't do it. But wait, did I? What happened? I wouldn't be entirely sure. And Bobby says, if you don't, I will. And okay, I love Bobby as a stepdad. He's such a good dad.
Yeah.
So
and then
good.
he's like, mess with my kid, you mess with me. And I loved that.
I love that. I love dad, like
Yeah.
Papa Bear coming out of Bobby. We don't see that much. I mean, we do, but sometimes at the station, he'll treat some of them like, we've seen him kind of do that around Buck or others, but to see him really be like a father figure to the kids is cool.
We've seen him be dad-ish to Buck and Eddie, but they're also slightly more his peers.
Yeah.
So it's like, a dad moment, but he's not acting like their actual dad, so to speak. Sometimes with Buck, but still, Buck is like close to 30, so it's slightly different. May, she's an adult, but she's still, his actual stepchild.
Right.
So, yeah, we love it. We love to see it. I love the little family, honestly. But yeah, so then we go into Albert looking for a place with Chim, and he's skeptical. At this point, he's kind of skeptical about firefighting work, and it's harder than he thought. And it is. People go into the job, and I don't think you can ever really prepare for the emotional and physical toll it takes. Even I, who have wanted to do this job my entire life, I know I'm not prepared for what's going to take out of me when I do it. So it's an experience. Sometimes you gotta experience it before you really know if you're meant to do it. But he's skeptical. He's not really sure. And Chim's trying to support him and reassure him. He's not always doing the best job, but he's trying.
Right, yeah.
But we love supportive Big Brother Chim. Even if sometimes it takes him a little bit to get there. He does good.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will say that I'm actually going to say that to closer to the end.
I
was jumping ahead of myself. I have thoughts on it, but we're going to keep that till the end when we get to the part I think we have thoughts on. And so moving on, that was a pretty short scene, honestly. It sets good station for where we're going next. But then chaos at dispatch. Something wrong with the tablets? I don't remember there being something wrong with the tablets.
Well, the whole thing was that they were glitching or whatever. And they, Josh had, it's like, why did we ever go paperless? And it's like, you were the one that wanted to go paperless.
It was like, don't remind me. Sometimes I'm mad at my previous self. That was kind of we love Josh. But yeah, now I remember. So there was something wrong with the tablets. And Linda and Eddie drinking coffee, walking, gossiping. We love it. I just love their pair.
Yeah, that was
honestly.
hilarious. That's a good one.
Can we keep it?
Yes, please.
I really
I want Eddie to go back to the fire department, obviously, but can we keep their friendship even though they're working in two separate areas? Thank you. Yes, please and thank you. And I love this that Eddie got her on the superfood creamer. And I'm like, that's a vibe. And he's like, she makes a comment about, you need to become one of us. And Eddie's like, yeah. He's not so sure about that. And Linda's like, but maybe you're not planning on being one of us forever. And Eddie's says about how he's getting used to desk work. He's used to being busy working a sling tweeting is a different kind of sweat. And it's true. Social media work is anxiety inducing. Yeah, it is.
No, totally.
Especially for one that couldn't even handle a smart home last season.
That's why
Right.
this is so ironic, because Eddie was like, every time that I had just somebody posted that scene the other day and I saw it again, and I was like, Eddie turning out the video games is what I saw, and just the fact that we went from that to this, I'm like, Eddie, you're the wrong profession.
Yeah, this is social media is slightly less complicated than a smart home, but still, the irony is on point.
Imagine him getting targeted ads afterward. He's like,
oh my god, he'll know. I'm just picturing Buck talking and a panic attack about it.
Right.
Oh, okay. So, May and Claudette, it's scene time. Yippee. Hurrah. May's yelling about Claudette and her ambulance, for a different call. Eddie and Linda, they're like, what's going on? Claudette's being an absolute bitch.
Right.
Yes.
May wasn't representing herself the best way, but it was clearly she just snapped kind of thing.
Yeah. Can't blame her.
No. Could have done things differently, but yes, can't blame her. Claudette was being such a condescending bitch.
Yeah.
That's the thing about her, is that she's so condescending.
Yeah. Yeah, she can all be nice and polite 1 minute and then turn her back on you and stab you, and it's like, wow.
Claudette reminds me of one of the people I work with. For being honest.
No. Oh no. Wow.
That's sad.
Yeah. I know, you're telling me.
Which I can't think of anyone that bad at my work, but oh boy, I probably just jinxed myself. I need to go find some wood to knock on.
Oh
Boy, Sue takes him off the floor, and Eddie and Linda, they're a total damn mood. They're just sitting there drinking their coffee, watching the drama. I feel like they're little old ladies in the house with a bunch of cats, just watching the neighbor drama, going oh, they're back at it again.
Yes.
Tell me they didn't give off the energy.
No, they did.
Sipping tea with the pinky out, oh, they're at it again. See that, Henrietta? Anyway, an entire thing I could go down. Sitcom energy, we love it. Anyway, so Josh goes to find Terry. They're all having a day. It's not even lunch yet. And Josh finds Carson, very cute, worker who is installing the clean agent system.
Yeah,
it's about damn time Josh got somebody he's interested in,
right?
Who's not a psychopath.
Oh, I love this being introduced so much. And
I just realized that we never got anything on it again. And Criminal, I need something on it next season.
Exactly. Don't bury this.
No, I swear. But they at least semi-listened to us. How long have we been saying give Josh a boyfriend?
When did we start seeing Josh?
Yeah. But then he found a psychopath, and then we're doubly give him someone better. Anyway, love Josh. It is funny because this entire time I was I'm just waiting for him to turn out to be another psychopath. I'm just please no.
Yeah, I didn't let my mind go there, but also I was just they wouldn't do that again, would they?
And then my brain did that, and then it went, well, they might. It wouldn't make sense, but they might. So anyway, there's definitely mutual attraction. We're here for it. Yes. Okay. Beyond that, my fangirling over that. Anyway, so Sue puts May and Claudette in the quiet room, basically a timeout, which felt fitting to work things out. And they're still arguing, and Sue tells them that they can't leave until they stop. And I'm like, good luck. You're never seeing them again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I can't even imagine, this happening. And, just in real life, being put in a quiet room, arguing, and just expecting it to, roll out normally, for it to stop. I
mean, I guess this is the room to get it out of their systems.
Right. I mean, if you're in the room, you'll stop.
Mm-hmm. And something's wrong with the new system. So we're moving on. Clearly, May and Claudette aren't happy about this. Boo-hoo. That's about all I have to do with it, really.
Yeah.
I do love that this room was literally made for this, but
right.
Love that. So something's wrong with the new system.
Mm-hmm.
Carson went to the basement. Something catches on fire and he's blown back. There'd be an explosion. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to be a psychopath. I also don't want to die. Please tell me you did not pull that. For the most part, I didn't think he died, but a little part of me was worried because he was right there.
Right.
He definitely got the brunt of the explosions, so there's always a concern. The computers turn off, the lights flicker, in the quiet room even. So they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And Terry is stuck in the room that sucks all the oxygen out of the room.
Lovely.
So that's fun.
Yeah, that was
Not good.
But then we get Eddie. Sorry.
Eddie, my baby, going at it. Okay. So Josh goes to Eddie asking him if he got the alert too, like they got alert something was wrong. So the fire suppression system. Josh has Eddie check it out since he's got the floor. We all know you can't go see that guy. Sue's dealing with, and Eddie's like, since Sue is dealing with me and Claudette, and Eddie's like, yeah, I heard. Josh says, everyone heard. And like, yeah, they weren't quiet.
Yeah, they all know. Everyone knows. Everyone was watching. They're probably getting their snacks.
Yeah, everyone was just like, ooh, teeth.
Exactly.
People on the sidewalk probably heard. Like,
I know, seriously.
Then Eddie goes to check it out, and he finds Terry, and he has to break the glass since the door is locked. I'm just thrilled seeing Eddie in action again.
Yeah, me too.
Too
That was
long.
so good. We've needed it.
It's been too long. Oh, and he has to go. He has to wake up Terry, and he gets him out. And Eddie sees smoke and realizes records are on fire. It's never a good thing when records are on fire.
The records that showed up just so they could start digitizing them so they could get rid of them. And now that's like, whoops.
Ironic.
Fire hazard.
Yeah, seriously though.
And so that's yay, fire. We already knew this was happening from like promos, but like it still had the same yay, fire energy.
Right.
And
like Eddie calling it in. Yeah, Eddie calling it in.
The dispatch is on fire. Non-essential personnel are to exit, which is basically everyone except the dispatchers that are currently on the floor, because they can't just shut down 911.
Right. Because wasn't there something about the call center in one of the other areas was down or being worked on, so they were already limited or something? I can't remember the specifics.
I think it may have been like the center in Sunview couldn't handle overflow, or they were limited or something.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly. But like they had nowhere to reroute calls to.
Yeah.
So yippee. May and Claudette, they're still going out because it's quiet room. No rooms leaving it. No sounds leaving it. No sounds coming in. They don't know something's wrong, and that's bad. I just feel like as much as I get the sentiment of the place, it's always a bad idea to have a place where you don't know when something goes wrong.
Yeah, that just it reminds me of like I don't know, just like those movies where people get kidnapped, and I'm like, oh no.
It actually gave me like the mini Josh Begins episode that we got vibes, because remember, he had his headphones on.
Oh yeah.
He didn't hear that everyone was running, but there was a fire. It actually gave me those vibes. I didn't realize it until now, but like looking back,
I totally
on
forgot
it,
about that.
I forgot about it too. And this even has a lot of Josh in it. But like he didn't know because he had the headphones on. Didn't know something was wrong until it was too late. At least too late to get any help. He had to help himself. And so again, these vibes. Granted, the situation didn't escalate quite the same as it happens here, but still, situational parallels. Moving on. 118 responds to the fire with the other companies, but they were there first, so Bobby is automatically in command, his instant commander. And Bobby sees Eddie with Terry, and Eddie tells him that the records room on the second floor is on fire. Hen takes Terry and says that she needs a hand, and there's Jonah. I forgot that we didn't quite have Jim back yet, quote unquote. Or wait, no, he is
Chim's back.
Jonah's back. Jonah's just with another station.
He's with another station. I think it's the 122, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
122, 132, something like that. It has a 2 at the end. That's all. So yeah, Jonah's back. Welcome. Not, as it turns out. But that's later. But it's interesting seeing him back.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like, and there is a bit of an off vibe that you even put in the notes about.
Yeah, like the whole thing just gave me a very, I don't know, like more so Jonah, like when he was still sticking around, I was like, why?
Yeah.
Like it was just very weird. And like I know I mentioned before that like just Lucy and Jonah being introduced at the time they were, when literally like Jim came back literally a couple episodes after that. And so it just felt weird. The timing felt weird. And I'm just like, what is this?
Yeah. Like the fact that we'd said goodbye to him. The only thing that had given me an offish vibe with him before was the Lucy scene. Him and Lucy meeting up. That was weird.
Yeah, that was that still makes me weirded out. I was like, that was like so unnecessary.
Very weird. Like they just had a scene with extras. Like that made no sense.
That's it. Yeah.
But having him back was a little odd. I wasn't yet suspicious or getting a hugely off vibe. It was just weird to have him back. And Chimney and Albert working together. I must say I already had a vibe with this. I already knew where this was going to go.
I didn't want to let myself go there because I do have feelings on the whole thing. But yeah.
I knew where this was going to go because I was getting parallels as soon as I believe they're told to go ventilate the roof. I was getting parallels, but Lucy and Buck, they're also working together. Fortunately, moving on, like later, May and Claudette, they're stuck in this room. No clue that the entire second floor is on fire at this point, like at least most of it, and it's just stupid back and forth stuff, and it felt like May wasn't getting any validation, more like having to confess that she was in the wrong, and I'm like, I'm not here for this.
No, she shouldn't have to do that.
Claudette's the bitch.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like, I was not there for it. I will say Claudette actually made a good point. I say this begrudgingly, but it's true that Claudette, because they're talking about the whole college thing, and Claudette says that if May really wanted to be a dispatcher for the rest of her life, she would have already thrown the letter from the college away.
True.
And it's true. I think that's a very good point. We're leaving it there for right now, but I think that was a good opening.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Sue. She's talking to Bobby, she needs help setting up mobile dispatch in the parking garage. 5 of her senior dispatchers are still up there taking calls. And Bobby's like, so May has been evacuated. Sue had completely forgotten about her and Claudette. And you can tell her face just drop. She's like, oh my God. Because she had been so focused with getting everything else done. And I don't blame her.
Yeah, she forgot, that's an honest mistake.
In an emergency,
happen to anyone.
In an emergency like this, she was handling what was in her sight. In this instance, out of sight, out of mind, completely kicked in because she had to manage everything else. Yeah. So, I don't blame her, but ooh, that is a hard realization to come to. Oh my God, I forgot, kind of thing. That's hard. And they are above the source of fire.
Not good.
No. Because they're right above the source of fire, for one thing. Right. So that means they're directly in the path. And also, it would be far better if they were below the source of fire, because then they're more easily accessible. That means they have to somehow surpass the fire, whether it's taking a ladder up or heading up the flight. Right. It's a lot harder. And oh my God, the moment I have been waiting for. Bobby tells Eddie to get in turnouts.
I was like, oh my God, yes.
Oh my gosh. And Bobby gives the other captain instant command because he's going in.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the protective dad. Be careful, Bobby, please.
Yeah. So now looking back, I'm thinking that because there was this one behind the scenes thing we got where we saw Oliver and Ryan, and we're like, wait, he's in turnouts. I think this was it, and we're like, so probably. I guess Eddie goes back this, and then we saw the season. I was like, yeah, I don't think that's the case. But it's interesting to see how it actually happened and stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. And Buck's to Eddie, why is Cap going in? Eddie tells him about how May's there. Lucy's like, feel like I'm missing something. Eddie says, family history. I'm going to be honest, I did not link this for a while. I didn't either.
I was rewatching it too, and at first I was so confused. I'm does she not know that May's his stepdaughter?
That's what I thought initially.
And I was family. Damn
then
it.
I put together his first family died in a fire, and that's when
I'm minute.
That's what it is. I did not realize that for a long time, though. I think it was a while later that I figured it out.
Yeah. He's but I'm not going to lose another kid in a fire like this.
He's going in. Like, he is not going to let it go down without him doing something about it. And I'm just saying that the entire time, Buck and Eddie together in turnouts on my screen.
I love that they got to work together again.
Lucy can go like F herself. I don't care that she was even there. She kind of faded in the background. I was so happy.
And they were like no time had passed when they were working together. It was so gold.
Smooth. They were partners. I love it. Not partners in all the way we want yet, but they're partners and we love it and they're back. And yes, baby. Anyway, you
they're
all
dating.
know.
The show just doesn't know yet. The writers just don't know yet.
Right. I love it. Yes.
It hasn't caught up yet. It's like when the body doesn't catch up to the brain.
Exactly.
Or the brain doesn't catch up to everything else, as in the writers' cases. Anyway, I won't go down that path. But it's just happiest moment in a long time. And yeah, then we move back to Claudette and May, and they're realizing something is wrong because they're sweating buckets by this point, and they start piecing together that the whole area is on fire. And Claudette starts going into like some sort of shock. Like she kind of freezes up. She's kind of not really there anymore. May has to get Claudette to get back. And Claudette's talking about how she doesn't like fire. And at this point, we're like, oh, there's a story there.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear kind of thing.
Right. And that threw me. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because there'd been no like mention of it in any other episodes that she'd had like a history of something bad happen.
Well,
so this
it's
was like
trauma.
really weird.
So
right.
She's not gonna bring up her own traumas unless like
the only time we've seen her really be vulnerable was during the hospital fire when she thought she'd lost the kids.
Which, I mean, maybe that's why she was vulnerable.
Thinking back on it, maybe, because I gained the impression she was a child. I don't remember if it was explicitly said, but I got the impression she was a child.
Right.
When whatever happened exactly happened.
Right. And later, like when you see her back, you see she has scars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we know something happened. So seeing her vulnerable again is a little jerky, especially after thinking like bitch most of the episode so far. Like not liking her and then being like a little bit of a jolt. Oh, wait, what happened? Kind of thing. Sue says that besides May and Claudette, there's only one more unaccounted person, which is Carson. And I'll admit that I'd mostly forgotten about him by this point.
Right. Well, he's not a main character.
Everyone else did.
Right,
everyone so completely forgot, except maybe Josh.
Right, Josh.
Even though Josh
and he wouldn't be on the roster for workers because he's not a worker. He's just a contractor coming in for a short time. So
yeah,
they had him on there like signing in, but like they didn't look through that till later.
They were like getting the immediate personnel that were in there all the time.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah. Carson, and I'm like, yeah, where is he? Because I had wondered about him a couple times, but by this point I had forgotten about him for a while. And so he is last seen on floor 2, and Eddie's like, we already swept. He and Buck already slept too. They already crossed it. Nobody there. Josh pipes in about how he was last in the basement.
Oh, hey, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Josh is still in the building.
Yeah, because he's one of the essential workers at the time.
Yeah, like all the
he's one of the 5 still on there.
Yeah, the senior dispatchers.
And he's like, I can meet you on 2 and take you down there. And he says, negative. And Josh is like, I'm near the fire stairs. I can be there fast. So he's good.
Right.
And Eddie's Eddie being my sweet child and being like, Josh, you're a dispatcher, not a firefighter. Today, you're a guest in this house. Josh, waiting months to say that.
That was so good.
I loved that. That was like perfect.
It was perfect because we didn't know if that would ever get acknowledged ever again. Right. So like the fact that they like followed up on that, like I
was like, vindication. Okay, I'm all good with what happened now. Like before, I'd still been a little offset by like, Josh, don't do my boy like that. Now I feel like my boys did each other. That sounds wrong. But they're even now. They're even now. But I just love how he's like, he's been pretty bold to say that. He has, he has planned out like 10 different situations where he could possibly see that back. And we're back. Chimney and Albert, they've been sent to ventilate the roof, secure the tower so they can still take calls while still mobile. And so they have a way to send people onto those calls. And a railing goes loose when Albert is part of the roof where the tower is. He's okay. So we're back to Claudette and May. I'm just breezing through, but we have so much to talk about that I'm just So she's not doing well. Sprinklers haven't gone off, and it's because it's fire suppression system. Claudette's saying fire smells like meat. Definite trauma there that implies that she's talking about herself getting burned, or she was around other burned bodies.
Well, she was obviously burned because later we do see the scars.
Yes,
right.
But there's also, it's possible that she may have been around someone else who had been burned. But I feel like it's more than likely she definitely was talking about herself. It just with the addition of someone else, maybe. I don't know. We don't really know the full story ever. And Lucy and Cap can't get to them the way that they go. So they need a new plan. Eddie and Buck, they find Carson. Got a compound fracture, but amazingly still looks pretty good. Like he's still doing fine considering how close he was to the damn explosion.
Yeah, I know.
And the guy's wondering if he'll be okay. And Buck's like, Buck, homie. He's reassuring him, like, I had a ladder trip fall on my leg. Look at me now.
That's
Buck,
good
Too
reassurance.
Too soon.
Good reassurance, Buck. That
and Eddie's just
so long
looking
ago.
at him like, the hell you just...
So much has happened to Buck since then, so I'm like, man, that seems so deep down on there. Like on the list.
Yeah. But like considering they were still talking about legs, like, okay, that would make sense in that case, but like you can see even Eddie's like, hell, bedside manner. It was funny. Seeing them working together. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the fire is getting closer. We're back to the quiet room. It's pretty much there actually. It's really spreading fast. We can hear Bobby yelling for May, but they can't hear it yet. Because obviously crap shit like that. Sue instructs Josh to cut the power and go down there since they're online in the garage. So basically everybody is the senior dispatchers, the ones that are still on the floor, they're cleared to go. So we're having the last of the evacuees. Everyone leaves, but Josh notices that Linda isn't moving. She has a call for an elderly man who's lost, I think, in the park.
Yes.
And she's waiting for the police to arrive. She can't cut this call. And Athena finally arrives, so they cut the power and they get out of there. It was like, okay, good work, guys. And May's on top of her game here. I'm so proud of her.
Yes,
She pretty much saves Claudette.
Yeah.
She's one, gets her to move away fire. Basically, the fire's in the room, it's closing in on them kind of deal. They're basically trapped in the one area that it isn't. And she's like, do you want to die? Answer me. And Claudette's like, no. The first comprehensible thing that she's really said so far that isn't kind of stuck in the past. And May's like, move your ass.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, girl.
Come on, May.
Yes, girl. And Bobby gets into the room at this point. They get Claudette. Bobby gets May, and they start evacuating. They start running. Bobby says at one point, like, don't tell your mother about that. And then everything starts going to shit again. The roof starts to collapse. And this is what I mean by it being a throwback, because Albert almost falls. This is a throwback to when he lost his kind of adopted brother, Kevin, when they were ventilating a roof. During Chin Begins, they were ventilating a roof. Kevin fell through and he died. And I knew this was happening from the very first time they powered up, even before they were sent to ventilate. I knew we'd be getting this. I knew we'd be getting a throwback to this.
Right.
It'd be stupid to pass up this opportunity.
Right. Not only does this give me a flashback to that, but also so many other shows, and I'm like, no.
You mean the falling through the ceiling thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, Billy Burke's character in Ladder 49, that happened to him, and his character died in the fire from it.
Yeah.
So
the last show I saw that in, it was so sad that, like, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, Chim gets him. That's all okay. I didn't think they'd kill him. Like, obviously, they wouldn't. This time, this would be like the time he could save him kind of thing. But it's still definitely terrifying.
It was very terrifying watching it, even.
Yeah. Even knowing he'd make it out, it's still like, oh, shit. Because you never know for certain until it happens that he's going to make it out. So, and of course, it's not just them the roof collapses on. It collapses on Bobby and May. And that's definitely a terrifying thing. And we have everyone searching for them. Lucy's yelling for them because she had gone in with Bobby, if I remember correctly, had already gotten Claudette out.
Mm-hmm.
And 118, they're pulling rubble off of them. And they're playing the song from Eddie Begins.
I was like, I think when we did the rewatch or when we watched it together, I was like, that's the song from Eddie Begins. Like, I know that song.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Ruel. I can't remember the name of it, but like I knew it right then, and I was like, oh, this is like, how many times have we watched Eddie Begins? There's like, we know that song.
Millions, practically. Yeah, honestly, when I was rewatching these all the other day and I got to that scene, I literally started tearing up because I was like, what song?
Like, damn.
Like, you couldn't have picked another song, but also, like, I get it.
Like, we're not complaining, but like my heart.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
And Buck's yelling Cap, just kind of acting like he would in Eddie Begins, because that's his family.
Yeah,
it sounded the same. Like he was
first it was with his boyfriend, and then it was with his kind of pseudo dad. So, like,
exactly.
I'm not lying. So they get to them. Bobby is shielding her with his body, and I'm just like, he's such a dad.
Like, yeah, it's everything.
And they're walking out, some with more assistance than others, but they're walking out, and Linda watches and sees, and Taylor sees, which is a key point to keep in mind, because we see them kind of coming out in groups, and Buck and Lucy are walking out together. And I'm like, bullshit, put Eddie in there. But no, it's important to keep in mind for later. But Linda says to Eddie how God has spoken following the earlier conversation. And Eddie is so proud and happy. This is what he wants to do.
Right.
And Buck's emotional, and Lucy sees, and she tells him, he took a rough hit, but we'll be fine. Talking about Bobby, because Bobby's being checked on by this point. Obviously, Buck's worried, and Buck's saying how he's glad Lucy wasn't with them. Like, it's good. The more people that were there, the less likely it is everyone will come out okay. I'm like, yes, I'm not the biggest fan of Lucy, but I didn't necessarily want to happen to her.
Right.
So, catch me early in the series, I might not have cared so much. At this point, I don't want to happen to her.
At this point, I'm neutral.
At this point, I'm neutral. That's a very good point to do it. So, like, I don't want something to happen to her.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's good she wasn't in there. And we see Taylor in the background staring, and I'm like,
girl, get a hobby.
girl, he works with other girls, right?
It's like, she wouldn't be staring at him like that if it was Hen.
Though I think she guesses that this is like the girl this happened with. I don't remember if I already knew, but like, I'm like, honey, if it didn't bother you so much before, stop letting it bother you now. They're literally just talking.
And I would just want to be like, that's not really the person you got to be worried about. Maybe you look more at Eddie. Have you seen them together? Have you seen them together? He practically co-parents with Eddie.
Basically.
Yeah, just like, honey, wrong direction. Go face that direction. Yes. See the handsome man right there? Yeah, you ain't got a chance. Get out.
Yes.
And Macy sees Claudette, and she'll be okay. She just needs a nebulizer. Claudette says to May about like how she was a badass and she's not like her. And May's like, she figures she'd be the only person she'd listen to. Like herself would be the only person she'd listen to. And I'm like,
fair.
That's true.
It is true.
I thought that was actually pretty funny. Like, at this point, this is point where I'm like, okay, you're still a little bit of a bitch, but like, we're on good terms. I think we've evened out a bit.
Right.
And then May runs to Bobby saying that's my dad. The first time she calls him dad.
Yeah. And he's like, how did he say it? You don't have to lie. You don't or something. Yeah. And she's like, no, I have 2 dads and you're one of them. I was like, oh yes.
I love it. That was so sweet. And then we go to Josh and Sue. I love this, okay? Josh cleared by medic, but Sue wants him to take 5 anyway. He sees Carson. And I love this because he asked her if they do checking that they do background checks on contractors. She's like, yes, they're quite extensive. And I love that he's checking because he remembers the last time.
Right. How could he not though? I mean, honestly.
Because he was going to go up there, but then he's like, wait a second.
Yeah. Just see, I remember that at some point during the episode, my fear had been that somehow the fire would have somehow been Carson's fault, but like they were going to go down that path.
Yeah.
And I was like, please, please, please. I just want Josh to have someone good. And so it didn't look like they were going that path. I was happy about it.
Right.
So, but I love that they had this. This was a reference. This was reference we needed to link storylines. And I loved it.
Yeah.
And he's like, good. And because Sue says, yes, they're quite extensive. And he goes to see Carson. And it's obvious they're interested. Like, we don't have any like confirmation of anything, but like it's a hint, a wink, and a definite
Right.
I'm just like, I'm here for it. I need this season 6.
Yeah.
It's a crime we didn't get more of this, and it would be a crime to get it again. Just saying. Especially if they decide to suddenly bring in someone different when they already hinted with something with this guy. Like, they do that sometimes, and it makes no sense. Lone Star. Zoe. Anyway.
Oh, I was like, what are we referencing? Yeah, that.
I liked Zoe.
I know, I did too.
I think it was just the actress had gotten another job on another show, so they just couldn't bring her back. But I always kind of in the back of my mind, I always believed that if she hadn't have gotten another job, she would have come back the next season.
Exactly.
Probably. But
because it would have made hilarious drama with Gwen. But sorry, we're talking about 911 now, so
yeah, there are definitely other times where they brought someone in and then they brought someone else in without explaining what happened to one person, and I'm just hoping it won't be this. I like Carson. I want them to get married, have kids, like all that.
We're going all in.
We're going all in. I just want Josh to be happy. Give him a freaking boyfriend. At this point, we've got him a love interest. I'd like this to be confirmed, but like, we got him an interest. It's a step in the right direction.
Yes, it is.
Anyhow.
So would their ship name be Cash for CA from Carson and SH from Josh? Sorry. It's like
Cash
or it'd be Jarson.
Jarson. I don't hate that.
I don't know.
I don't know. I love how we're the one.
Cash just sounds like a name. Jarson does sound a little bit more like a ship name.
True. But I have to put a Twitter poll out there. What should the ship name be?
Yes.
Jarson or Cash?
Yes. Okay.
And he's like, we'll do.
Let us know in feedback, y'all, what you think. And so we're moving on, and Albert has decided that this isn't for him. And I love that Chim tells him not to settle for being half of anything. And I love that because he was talking about like kind of following in footsteps kind of deal. Albert needs to find something that suits him. Right. And I'll be honest, I'm glad that this is, because I was never really on board with Albert becoming a firefighter. I never really liked it. I was along the same lines that I was with May being a dispatcher. I grew to like that. I grew to be okay with that. However, I was glad that we never really saw Albert being a firefighter, because I'm not the largest Albert fan. I don't hate him, but like I'm not like, oh my gosh, it's Albert.
Yeah, I mean I like him, but I don't like. I'm not like, oh my god. Like there's definitely other people to focus on. Like I don't know. Like I kind of felt weird about this. Like them going to this point, just because I felt like this was only just because like the actor has other projects and he can't really be on the show, rather than like him actually like, you know, this being the storyline. Because at that point, what was the point of bringing this storyline up just to crash it down? Like it literally it didn't really make that much sense. That's my only thing with it. Like
it's a little odd, but I'm kind of glad to see it come to an end, honestly. I'm not sure. We'll probably see Albert here and there. But like if the actors on other projects, we didn't even see him that much now, but like this is the longest time. I think this is the longest time we've really seen him since his accident storyline.
Yeah, because he got a pilot, and then he was on Nancy Drew or something. So like he had a
very heavily too.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. Albert's kind of a 50-50 with me. I'm like, I think he was cool to like bring in some of family for like biological family for Chim. He wasn't like a main. He wasn't like a main storyline for me. So
definitely feel that.
So I kind of feel it's going to be like, when Michelle left, like Rafa said, he'll, as far as he's concerned, Michelle and him still keep in touch, Carlos and Michelle. So
right. Yeah, I feel like it'd be a little bit different than that because I feel like they will show him from time to time.
Yeah.
Simply because there's more of a connection, and he was never a main character to begin with.
They made him a main character last season, though. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
he was like a side character. That's about it.
I know, but they like made him a series regular, and then like look how that turned out.
Yeah, that's at an end, and I liked how Chim supported him, like good big brother energy.
Oh yeah, that's what I love most about it.
Yeah, that's about all there is to love about it. Like not in a bad way, just that's about it. So we have Bobby in hospital, and Athena's telling him he's getting an MRI and that he's a terrible patient. Most first responders are like, yeah.
Most anyone in the medical field are terrible patients.
Anyone who works to save other people are terrible patients. Military, first responders, medical field.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah. Doctors notoriously.
Oh, very.
But everybody.
Very bad.
Everybody. And it's just, it's sweet Athena. We love them.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like Bobby mostly got the MRI because of May.
Yeah, she was all like, no, you're gonna get it. Okay.
Okay, I'll listen to her.
Oh, we love it. We love it. Yeah. So here is like the juicy, also what the fuck part. Lucy this sounds like the start of a bad joke. Lucy walks into the hospital. The Taylor's also in, like two bitches walk into a bar. That's the kind of joke I had in mind. I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as I did.
It's so true.
And like, oh, this is great. They're introduced. Lucy says about how she's heard a lot. Taylor says same. I'm like, awkward as fuck.
Yep.
Taylor's not saying anything. Lucy's like, you want to comment? And Eddie and Buck are just in the back.
Yeah, they're kind of like, just, do.
I don't think they even really noticed. But like also at the same time, like they were wrapped up in each other and like boyfriend energy. Girls, keep up your cat fights. He's going home with his boy tonight. Anyway.
So was this the episode where at the beginning Taylor was trying to get Buck to get Lucy to give a statement about something, a rescue or something she'd done, and Buck refused to do it because he's like, I'm not going to get involved in your stories or whatever?
That was another episode.
Okay.
That's another, yeah. Okay. But yeah.
But I feel like she had this infatuation with knowing that was in a prior episode, because the second she sees her, she's just like saying her name, and I'm like, calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Taylor says that Lucy doesn't know what the 118 means to him. She goes on this long ass speech, and I'm like, girl, you're making yourself look pathetic. And she says how I'd hate for things to get messy again. And she leaves, and Lucy says she's a peach, and I'm like, girl, I agree.
I agree too.
Yeah.
A rotten peach, one that smells bad and you don't want to go near.
Wow. That was deep.
Yes.
My sass is on tonight. Wow. I feel like I'm actually living up to the shirt I wore today, which went I'm allergic to stupidity. I break out in sarcasm.
Love that.
I'm a sass. All right. Anyway. Okay, so Buck, Eddie, and Hen talking about Carson, saying he's got nerve. Okay. Eddie says how he's lucky. That's all. And Buck saying how a lot of people got lucky. And ironic timing. Jonah comes in with Claudette, who he's been giving impressions to. At this point, I'm like, the fuck?
Right. And yeah, she's fine the last time we saw her.
And Hen follows. She's been down 12 minutes. And you're like, okay, she's dead. Jonah says, It's weird. I should have been able to save her. I usually save them. Weird as fuck phrasing.
Yeah, it was. I was a little sketched out by that.
And it's called Claudette's Dead. And I'm just there sitting there like, the hell?
Like, what just happened?
They just killed Claudette.
Number one.
I didn't always like her, but I never wanted her to die.
Exactly.
Number one, when I said I wanted Claudette to leave, this is not what I meant.
Exactly. Yes, that.
I don't want her dead.
I want her to leave in a huff, but I want her to leave under her own power and still breathing. The hell? That did not happen. And so this is where, the thing that I gave at the end, this is where I went, oh crap. I did not expect to kill her off. This threw me for an entire loop. No one understands it, but it does lead into 5:17 perfectly. And Hen is confused as fuck because she was fine and then she wasn't. It's always concerning when it's under those circumstances. And at this point, you're like, okay, yeah, something's definitely wrong with Jonah. If you didn't already think so, you definitely are thinking so by this point. Then we move into 5:17 and school bus scene. I knew almost immediately what this was about. I don't think it took long for any of us to realize what it was, but like within the first minute, I got it.
Yeah. The first minute I was like, Jonah begins. Not a begins, but
flashbacks. Yeah, this is a flashback for Jonah.
Yeah.
And Jonah's drawing very well detailed pictures of dead people, and the other kids plainly think he's weird.
They were like executed, basically.
Yeah, like I think it was guillotine.
Yeah,
he was talking to a kid about the guillotine, and I'm like,
this is weird.
That explains a lot about
him.
And also, other kids thought he was weird, and for not bad reasons. Though I will say, great artistic talent. You should have gone down that end. Bus driver has a heart attack. Young Jonah gives him CPR and makes the news, and he's basically worshipped. He's given tons of money. He's given the key to the city and called a hero, and he's constantly being publicized. I'm like, okay, he did a cool thing, but like, the heck y'all doing?
Yeah,
he saved one person. Yippee-yi-yay! You've done all this before. Stop it. He needs to go on living a normal life.
It gives such a young kid. So we find out later he was only 12. I feel like it put just the raw ideas into his head, especially growing up, I'm sure.
Everyone who thought he was weird suddenly was like looking at him with hero eyes.
Yeah.
That goes to anyone's head. And that's going to mess people up.
That is exactly what happened.
So clearly he had a disposition for something being a little wrong beforehand. Though he went from the serial killer just killing people to think, oh, that's interesting, path to trying to save people, but killing them to try and save them. Yeah, hero complex. That's great. They can clearly see how this is going, and it's so freaking creepy. And already we had in the last episode, we had our Hen talking to Karen about not feeling right, about what happened with Jonah and the call. So we already know that Hen's suspicious of something.
Right.
That was one thing we didn't add in, but that was happening last episode. It was hardly a shock to see this because we're getting a little bit of backstory to confirm Hen's suspicion or kind of the reasoning to it. Bobby, May, and Athena, they get back from Claudette's funeral and a lunch at her house. And May didn't eat because it felt weird eating at her house and said how it was a weird custom. It is a little bit, honestly.
When my uncle died a couple of years ago, we went to some restaurant and had a luncheon. So I've definitely it is a weird custom, but somehow it's comforting in a way because it's well,
food is comforting. And I think that's part of it.
But we didn't go to somebody's I could understand why because she's never met Claudette. It's she doesn't know Claudette outside of work. So going to her house and seeing this is what her house looks like. She has a family, which we find out she has a family. She has kids. She has a husband.
I'm sorry, I don't see her being a mom.
I know.
It took me by surprise.
And I want to say everyone would be I feel like a lot of people would be see how she is with May and be she'd be a terrible mother, but I feel like she's a totally different person.
Exactly. I think I actually feel like she's a good mom.
Yeah, exactly.
When I think about it, I'm like, I feel like she's that kind of person who, she may be a little bit of a hard ass at points. But I do feel like she's probably that person who completely transforms around her kids.
Yeah.
So like
a lot of people are like that.
A lot of people are. And so it's not always fairest to judge how someone is around their family around like with how they are around their coworkers kind of deal. Because of those reasons. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But like it is a little jarring because obviously this is our first time hearing this. So we're like, oh, his mom, she had a family kind of deal. And it sucks.
Yeah.
And May's trying to blame herself. Bobby and Athena, they ain't having it. They're reminding her that what happened isn't her fault. She even saved her. And May's like, feels like it should be someone's fault.
Right.
Promptly, we switched to Hen talking to Chim about Claudette's death. And she thought it's weird what he said. I can usually save them. It is a weird line.
She has a right to be weirded out.
That's very weird. Like, I can usually save them. Like, what the hell does that mean?
I'm like, that's kind of like an ego thinking that you're going to save every person that you touch because you're a paramedic. You're not God.
Yeah. I want to say that happened like in one of the medical shows I watched. I forget which one. Where somebody like they're like, "Oh, I've never lost a patient," and I'm like, "Oh."
Pierce from Lone Star.
It wasn't that, but
it's true. I mean,
yes.
you also have people like Josh who doesn't check up on people afterwards. So in his mind, he's never lost a case, even though like obviously deep down he knows he's lost some. We got that. I think we got that second season. So like that was early on. But there's that mindset. That's not a harmful mindset. That's a taking care of yourself mindset.
Right.
And that isn't I definitely saved everyone because I'm such a good dispatcher kind of thing.
Right.
No, he did his job. And as far as he knew, he didn't lose anyone on the call. That's as far as he knew. It's not self-assuredness. Again, it's taking care of himself. But she's hence remembering a call where Jonah was alone with a kid. And I completely forgot about this until it happened. But like the kid had gotten bit by spiders.
That scene
when he was
creeps.
I was literally, I closed my eyes during that whole scene. Like I could
like,
not.
I don't have a thing with spiders. That's definitely not my like if I
you don't have arachnophobia.
I'm not like afraid of spiders, but like, if I had one on me, I probably would scream, like,
Oh yeah.
But like I'm not afraid of them. Like, got other phobias to worry about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
She's remembering like they had the kid, they were up and talking, and by kid we mean like young adultish.
He was probably like 20 maybe.
Yeah, young adult. And like suddenly he coded out of nowhere, but Jonah got him back. Yeah, it'd been really weird at the time. I remember that. And Hen found out that Claudette had hypertension, but she was stable.
Right. And
Jim does agree with her. He thinks that she's onto something. And she's like, "Oh, you believe me?" And he's like, "Always." And I'm like,
well,
this is besties.
But I don't know how to phrase this, but like Hen just going through Claudette's medicine cabinet at her like basically after her funeral. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little.
Yes. I mean, that's a little odd, and also totally something I suspect from him.
Honestly, she and Chim do a lot of things together. I would not have put it past them to both do the same thing. Or him watch the door while she's doing it.
Chim would have been hissing about how they shouldn't do this, but also like staunchly defend her and probably help. Because that's kind of how they work. And she does the same to him sometimes. Right. But so then we cut to our beautiful dads, Eddie and Buck. They are
totally dadding in this moment. There's no mistake.
They are dads.
And Eddie is yelling for Chris because they're in Chris's room. And we think that Gavin wasn't able to film this day because we don't see him at all in this episode.
It was like Chris.
He's yelling for him like, "How long does it take to pack a toothbrush?" kind of thing. I'm like, don't underestimate the toothbrush. But they're packing. Buck's saying, "Why not take a later flight? Your parents will understand." Eddie's staring, and Buck's like, "Well, they should." They're going to Eddie's dad's retirement party.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
We knew Eddie was going to Texas. We didn't really know why. I wondered if it was something to do with therapy. Kind of like a Owen from Lone Star.
You gotta go face your issues. Yeah.
And though he definitely faced some issues with this, it wasn't for this purpose. He was going for the retirement party. And Buck saying, as someone who comes from a screwed up family, Eddie's saying his family isn't screwed up. Buck's staring. And I'm like, honey, you're all the reality checks today. And he's like, just my dad. I'm like, honey, you're your mom a little bit too. But we're not lumping Peppa and Abuela into that. They're a different kind of family. Love them with all our hearts.
Yes, we love those.
Can we acknowledge the dinosaur Buck was playing with?
He's just like doing what I love that.
And
sometimes Eddie has 2 kids.
I think Eddie feels the same way. I think I saw a meme of that recently. I forget what it was. Oh no, it wasn't Buddy. It was Carlos. It was, I don't know. I'll have to tell you guys about that later. Never mind, but I'm sure Eddie feels the same way.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But Buck asks him what he's going to do, and his dad presses his buttons, and Eddie says, there's a hotel 20 minutes away, and Chris is going to like the pool.
I mean, yeah.
Yo, bet. Like, he's planned this all out.
He has an escape plan. I want to say here, therapy helping him with that. Give him a good,
wise planning as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, good planning, knowing that you need a safe situation to get out of. Need a safe place, and that's that.
And he knows what he needs. So we love this. It was good. I know we even hoped that Buck was going to watch Chris while Eddie went to Texas, but that's when we didn't know what he was going for. Knowing what he was going for now makes more sense why they went together. Right. So yeah. So then we go back to Hen and Jim. They're sneaking into Cap's office, and I'm just like, there's no way this is going to turn out well. And they find the files for the paramedic forms. And Jim logs onto the computer to find his file, but Bobby being completely predictable and leaving his password written down somewhere.
At least when I write mine down, I do shorthand.
I mean, I write mine down sometimes. I write mine down, but I save them to my devices.
I have saved on my own personal computer, but otherwise I do have them written down. But nobody's really gonna know where that is.
Right. Yeah, and it was something super simple too. It wasn't your typical password being kind of. Yeah. It was something Bobby would come up with.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And Jonah's reports are following a pattern. We find out that he has been obviously they know something's up. The reports, they can't just go off a hunch. We find out that Jonah has only been in the LAFD 14 months, and that he was a medic in Chicago, Miami, Dallas, Denver, and now LA. That is a suspicious amount of cities.
And the time frames were super short, so he hadn't been in any of them very long.
They didn't show,
6 months kind of
deal.
They
didn't show the resume that long, but I did pause it, and I want to say the longest time frame was 2019. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Honestly, that would be a red flag to me if I was interviewing this person. I'd be like, so why have you changed jobs this many times in this amount of months and years?
Yeah, honestly, if he started accumulating much more, people would start getting a little more suspicious. I think Bobby probably did because he was desperate.
Yeah, that's true.
But even just accepting the LAFD, the initial hiring for the LAFD, that's not exactly Bobby. And so, even that's a little...
Yeah, it's so
suspicious still. The firefighters are back, so they have to sneak out. They run into Robbie and Lucy, and they're still not lying.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I thought you guys were off today.
Yeah. Lucy wonders what they're hiding, and Robbie says, around here it's best not to know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Probably triggered treasure hunt. Yep.
Yeah.
And the more they showed Jonah, I think we all agree, the more they showed Jonah, the more creeped out you get.
Yeah.
The more this episode goes on, the more creeped out I get. I'm like,
they're clearly laying it on. And this is a good actor. He's definitely doing the creeped out vibe. And So here we have Eddie and Peppa arriving in LA. Abuela greets them, and I'm like, Abuela, we haven't seen you in ages, my darling.
Right,
How are you? She looks a little older, but she looks so like
I missed her.
I want her as my abuela.
Yeah. And it kind
Same.
of got the vibe that she'd moved in with Eddie's parents, probably during the pandemic
At
or
least
something.
nearby, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, I don't necessarily think she moved in with them, but I definitely think she lives like nearby.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I'm not sure. Chris is sleeping in the car. Again, we think Galvin was filming that day because we never see him. Abuela is obviously she's back living in El Paso. And it's just so good to see both Peppa and Abuela.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes in to see his parents. Before we even get that, the fact that apparently Helen, Eddie's mom, is stressing about cooking, but they're all so happy that Abuela brought up making the tamales. And I'm like, yes.
It's like every fan fiction we've had about that.
Honestly, yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah. And so Eddie goes and sees his parents. It's that saying it's been too long that he hasn't visited. Eddie being like pretty sure planes fly in both directions. And I'm like, that's my
Good point.
Very good point.
And Eddie's mom points out that now that his dad's retired, they'll have more time to visit. I'm like, will you though?
They say that, but will I?
I sort of hope not. Just because that's
I
a lot of
want them to
stress.
find out about the if Eddie dies bucket and guardianship. I low-key want them to find out about that.
That would be a blow up for sure.
I definitely want to see their reaction to that. I mean, I'm not dying for it, but low-key.
Yeah. And they're talking about the retirement. And there's definitely tension there between Eddie and his dad. No surprise.
There's been tension there for a long time.
And his dad asked how's life as an operator. I'm sort of surprised they know that he's a dispatcher.
Yeah.
Well, he's not. He's a dispatcher. That's why I'm like, and that makes sense. They think he is.
That's probably what they boiled it down to in their minds, even if they knew the specific title.
Right, exactly.
And Athena checking up on May, as she should, checking up on Bobby and May. Love it both ways. And of course, hard. But I love that she's looking after her daughter, she's looking after her husband, she's keeping an eye on them. I will say I do miss seeing Harry. We haven't seen Harry in a while.
Oh my god, yeah. Like earlier.
Like I never thought about it till literally now.
I think I made a comment like, wow, he's sure gotten tall.
Yeah.
But like it's been a while since I don't even remember.
It was, I forget when exactly it was, but I want to say it was like earlier this season.
It was definitely we definitely seen him some point this season. I just don't know when. God, I need to rewatch.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So we switched to Hen and Karen. They're talking about Jonah. Hen saying they've made calls to people he worked with, and they all said the same thing. He's a little odd and overeager. All except one at the 122, which is the station that Jonah is at, who left Jonah alone with a car accident, and when the medic came back, the driver was in full arrest. And they died, sings Claudette. Suspiciouser and suspiciouser. Like, if you haven't realized, it's definitely wrong by now. Something's dreadfully wrong. Karen, it's like, there's a pattern, hence, like, she doesn't have any proof. If she says something, it'll just get denied. It's true, and when it gets denied, it paints a target on your back, and Jonah will vanish.
Right.
And I like that Karen points out, she's so on top of things. Nobody starts with murder. It's true, people build up to it.
That's very true. Like,
even serial killers.
No, they start out with like small, like petty crimes, and then they like work up
petty
to
crimes.
Yeah.
They'll start with animals. As much as I hate saying that because it breaks my heart. They'll practice animals. They work up to humans. So it's true. No one starts with murder. Not if they're obviously there are some things can sometimes get out of hand, like manslaughter occasionally. Like there are various different things, but when you have serial repetition like this, it doesn't start with this.
Right.
So Hen goes to Chim, saying the same thing. Nobody starts with murder. And she shows him an article talking about how 13-year-old Jonah saved his bus driver and was a hero. Key to the city, paid for college, and eventually attention wears off. It always does. And you finally get it after years of apparently being starved for it kind of thing. It's hard to lose it. It's like a drug. It's like an adrenaline rush.
Yep.
Hard to lose it. And so he tries frequently to recreate the situation. And and then we go to knock on Buck's door asking to see Taylor. We all know why. They want to see her footage from before Claudette died. And we see the footage. Claudette's fine, laughing, talking to the medics. And we see Jenna giving Claudette drugs. Penn and Tim are guessing. Fucking Taylor could have a clue. They have to tell them. Taylor gets sworn to secrecy.
Not that would stop her.
Yeah.
No, immediately I had a bad feeling about her knowing everything because we all know she's a bitch.
Right.
Honestly, at that point, I would have been blown out of the water if she had somehow kept her trap shut.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
And I wasn't blown out of the water, so I get to stay happily wet and disappointed but satisfied.
Yeah.
But at this point, she's promising to keep quiet. Confidentiality kind of thing.
Right.
Then we head to the retirement party. I will say this was a little, again, we know apparently Gavin wasn't filming. This is the place where it was odd not to have seen Chris.
Right, yeah.
The other times we could get away with it. It's just weird not having caught a glimpse of him. Even if they somehow dubbed him in or something, like just the back of his head. It's a little
something
weird.
to give him.
A little weird.
Mm.
But it's okay. And Eddie's dad has to give a speech. Is nervous. And it was like, I was going to tell one about you scrapping my truck. Apparently when Adriana was born. And Abuela is Eddie's biggest fan. We love it. She's sticking up for him. And Ramon, he's just bringing up shit. Old shit. And stuff that doesn't paint Eddie in good life. It makes him the front of the joke.
Yeah. And it's like, he was a kid.
Leave
him alone.
Right.
And Eddie points out, like, because he was talking about, we eventually forgave him. It didn't matter that much kind of thing. And Eddie's like, well, after you yelled at me for scrapping your truck, so I have to smoke alarm making eggs for the girls. See, I'm proud of Eddie for stepping up for himself, but also at the same time, I was going, honey, this is neither the time nor place to have an argument.
I mean, it wasn't the only time I wasn't like offset about it is because like it wasn't like he was making a huge scene. He wasn't yelling.
It was private within the group. I was proud of him for that. Unless they really set him off, I didn't expect it otherwise. Like all it did was put a damper on the day for those who were there. But let's be honest, you dish it out, gotta expect to get it back. Exactly. Parents don't expect that, but when your child grows up, you're gonna give it back. And then you get to be all upset about it, which is kind of what's happening here. And Eddie continues saying that's probably a better story to tell them. And him saying about why don't you tell them about the time you told your 10-year-old son it's time to step up and be the man of the house. Going on about how he's never had a childhood, his dad never took care of him, he was just going. Ramon's trying to protect himself about saying how he had to provide for them. And look, I'm not saying this is an illegitimate excuse. Like, this is not valid, but a lot of people get to hide behind the whole I was trying to provide thing behind their like negligent actions towards their kids.
Yeah.
And I think this is what was happening here. So it's definitely valid that a lot they don't get to be the most supportive parents because they're so busy trying to make a life, particularly single parents.
Right.
Does that always excuse like negligence? No, it doesn't. It doesn't excuse it. It can explain it. In this instance, there's less explanation, like worthy validity here. Like, yeah, you provided for it, sure, but like you weren't providing in some of the ways most needed.
Right.
And it's clearly what's deficit here.
Yeah, that's obviously like where like his like mental health, like that's where it started.
He didn't starve to death, but he's clearly starving for positive attention and love.
Right.
Gotta provide on all fronts.
Exactly.
Like, of course we get why Eddie's mad though. And again, originally I'm like not the right time or place necessarily, but I'm not upset about it. Of course, there's always a better time, but that doesn't mean that it should always be kept to the better time. Because again, Ramon started it.
Yeah, he did. Like
dishing it out.
Yeah.
And
so you're gonna dish it out and can't take it. That's the problem. There's a problem.
Oh yeah, that's like my favorite thing to say. Like,
and most people can't dish it out.
Exactly.
And take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm just again, I know I hate being made the brunt of a joke,
I do
particularly by my parents, because they often go way too far.
So do I.
Family tends to go way too far with jokes.
Yep.
Because they'll bring up your most embarrassing moments without a single regard for you.
Right.
I know my parents mentioned something I said when I was a kid, still 20 years later, and I'm like, guys, I was literally 9.
Yeah, it happens, and it's not always the greatest. It can be actually a little hurtful. It can be damaging. So it's not always the best, particularly since they don't tend to back it up with things positive. So yeah, there's definitely worse ways things could have happened, but it's definitely not going as smoothly as Eddie would have hoped, and probably going closer to what he expected.
Mhm.
Probably the only thing is they're not quite yelling at each other yet.
Right.
But Eddie's dad, and this is maybe the one thing I had about it, was that clearly he was starting to not act right. Eddie was going off, like he was clearly physically not doing well. And I'm like, Eddie, you didn't notice? And I'm like, when it gets personal and emotional, you don't always notice. So he gets past as far as that goes. But he starts what looks like a panic attack. And that's when we find out that his dad went to see a cardiologist 3 years ago in Dallas and never told anyone. Even Helena. Helena's like, why didn't you tell me? And Eddie even answers with pride. He didn't want to seem weak. And Eddie gets that. And I think this entire thing we're seeing that, well, Eddie and his dad are so very different that actually are very similar too.
Yeah, which I think that terrifies Eddie a little bit.
I think it does. And I think he has every reason.
Yeah.
And so we go to Hen. Hen is showing the footage to Bobby. He believes them, but it's a huge accusation. And it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And it's still easy enough to be explained-ish. They have to get Claudette's autopsy expedited to see if there were drugs in her system to prove it.
Right. Because on the video, they couldn't see what she was given. They just knew she'd been given something.
Right.
Exactly. So they need her toxicology report.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're only really going off suspicion.
And suspicion in something like this, you can't act purely on that.
Right.
It's not going to hold up in court, for one thing. It's going to be a whole mess. Things need to be done properly.
Right.
And the whole situation is that Jonah wants to play God, which no one has ever succeeded in before, save the man himself. So, like, yeah, it's not doing well. He's getting people killed. It's a God complex. And so Buck asks Taylor not to take on the Jonah story and to promise, which he does. And we don't see this, but I think all of us are pretty certain that she was basically crossing her fingers behind her back.
The way they positioned the scene and the way, like, it was so close to her and the look in her eye, I was like, you damn well know that she's crossing her fingers.
Even if she wasn't physically, like, mentally she was.
Yeah, I mean,
she never meant to keep
way.
that promise. And she fully intended to somehow be able to justify it.
Right.
As we know later. And Eddie and his dad, we're back with them, and they're talking. He didn't have a heart attack. He had a panic attack. Wow. Ramon wondering why he didn't tell them. We're talking about Eddie's thought heart attack. That too. Eddie's thought heart attack, then panic attack. Ramon wants to know why he didn't tell them. And I'm just like, bitch, why do you think? You're not exactly the most easy to be open to. Eddie,
would he tell them?
Eddie being like he didn't want to seem weak either. Ramon doesn't understand why he's so angry with him. And I'm just like,
how do you not know?
How do you not know? Yeah. And Eddie's like, he's going to be better. Ramon thinks it's for Chris. Eddie says for himself. And I'm like, my
yes,
baby.
Eddie.
He's actually listening to goddamn therapy.
I know.
Right.
Maybe that should like go around a little bit.
Be better for yourself. Live your life, hon. Yeah. Good, Eddie. We love you. Ramon says he's going to be there for Eddie. And Eddie says how we'd like that. I do not hold him to that.
I don't either.
Or actually, I would, but except I don't expect him to. But it's nice to see Eddie be open.
I think
I still don't like his parents.
Yeah, I think it's giving him like some sort of like closure because his dad kind of caused a lot of his issues.
It's a balm on the wound.
Yeah,
it's not getting rid of the scar. But it's a balm on the angry scar, so to speak. And of course, we still don't like his parents, but like we're hoping this may be a new start. I would also be perfectly happy to not see them much anymore. But please give us back Abuela and Papa.
I would take Abuela and Papa any day. how I feel about Eddie's parents is how I feel about Buck's parents. I don't want to see either of them.
Mm-hmm. Though I'll be honest, I still would love to actually like really meet Eddie's sisters.
I agree with that. Yes, because
We've
always
seen
they've been
so
in the
little
background.
in
But
the
what's
background.
going on?
But all we know is that Eddie has a niece. We
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
anything other than that.
We haven't
And
heard
we know
about
that
her
from
since season 2.
Season 2, episode 1. From his photos that Buck was getting all like macho over.
You can't use professional photos.
Yeah, these were taken by a 12-year-old, like using iPhone filters. And I'm like, yes, we love a good iPhone filter. All right. So Bobby, we're back to the whole Bobby and Chim. Bobby gets off the phone with the chief. Claudette's death is being investigated. Jonah's on like duty. Penn leaves, and I'm here like, no. No one goes away alone right now. You already know this man is capable of murder. Why the fuck are you guys like splitting up? And she leaves. Jenna calls her, threatens her. She calls Karen, telling her to go over to Bobby and Athena with Denny and Tony, her mom.
Right.
Hen thinks Jonah's going to come for her family, but Karen doesn't think she's the one who's after. And I think it all hits us close to around the same time. That's like, oh, no, shit, it's Chim.
Right.
And Hen goes to find Chim and is knocked out. She wakes up to Chim unconscious. Jonah started stopping his heart over and over again just to restart it. And I'm just like, okay, even if he makes it through, that cannot be healthy.
The emotional, like, the emotionalness that put me through rewatching this.
The emotional torture that both the characters and us had to go through with that.
To Jonah.
Maddie gets to Chim's with G. Only to hear his phone ring. Hen isn't there.
Right.
Maddie sees a captive syringe. She says how she needs to get G out of there and call 911 because she thinks they're both in danger. Again, we're back to Chim's heart being stopped over and over, and Hen's crying, and we so rarely see her cry that I'm like, no.
Right.
And it's so stressful. And I'll be honest, I actually muted most of the scene because I could not take audio and visual like
that was really stimulating and really challenging.
Yeah, I think when I was watching,
not without knowing how it ended.
Yeah, I think when I was watching it this time, like I was like, yeah, I watched a little bit, but then I was like, okay, this is enough. I can't go through this.
Yeah, exactly. Like I brought it back just a little before the part that I'm about to bring up, which is Hen is distracting him because Chim manages to disconnect. Like he's conscious. Jonah does not know he's conscious.
Right. And
he's aware of his surroundings. He's starting to plot how to free himself. He disconnects the IV, the wires. That makes it sound like his heart machine goes off, which sends Jonah for a loop. Chim was able to snag the defibrillators, and he knocks him out with them. And I'm so proud.
Yeah, go Chim.
And around that time is when help arrives. I'm like, y'all could have turned up a little bit before. But honestly, this is probably perfect timing because otherwise they would have had a real hostage situation.
Yeah. He neutralized the issue.
Before they had to find other ways. And then Ravi says to Lucy how they're saying it was Hen and Chimney being attacked. And she's like, what? By who? And sees Jonah. Like, yeah, that's who.
Right.
You know, that guy you went to drinks with, just a couple.
Yeah.
Him.
Yeah, him. And the best part is, the best part is them bringing out Jonah in handcuffs. And then Bobby comes straight up and punches him, saying, son of a bitch, I trusted you.
I love that scene, and the fact that when I see this, people edit the scene over and over. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it every time.
I just want an edit where they edit him punching, but like that snippet of him punching over and over and over, so it looks like he's punching him multiple times.
Oh.
I just want someone to do that.
I'm not usually one for violence, but I do understand Bobby's need for that because Bobby is the captain. Yeah.
He came in.
Violence, not a fan, but like when it's needed, yes, I'm here for it.
I think this was excusable.
Yeah.
Like, we love it. Go Bobby. And this is what we all feared. We all knew was happening. Maddie and Buck see news of Taylor reporting the case. Like, Kelly, you dumbass bitch.
Yeah.
And see what had happened. What happened earlier about him getting her to promise was because he already walked into her talking to someone on the other end of the phone about the story.
Yeah, but she wasn't using the words, but he knew what she was talking about.
She closed the computer so fast. She was like, "Oh, I'm doing nothing, bitch. No, you're not."
Yeah, we knew what she was doing.
We all know your game.
It's like, no, she was talking to someone on the phone. The wording was obvious. What she was talking about. It was like, And so this is like a twice over violation. It's just bewildering, but also not, because we all knew it. Like, anyone who actually thought she'd keep her word, it's, well, she had you fooled too. Then we have Chim and Hen being stuck in hospital overnight. Karen seeing Hen hugging her. Oh my god. And saying that Chim took the brunt of it, and Karen goes to hug Chim. Like,
yeah, that was so good.
That was so cute.
Them.
I love Karen.
And Chim going on about like how that's not how we work. You jump, I jump.
That's so relatable.
And Hen mentions how she never liked Jonah. Everyone thought she was crazy. Chim would have had no proof, and he would still have backed her up. And I'm like, no. I'm so glad they're back together.
I know.
Like, I love their partnership. Besties.
I know. Like,
and then Chim being like, "You're the genius, I'm the comic relief." And I'm like, yes, that's actually accurate. And yeah. Like, some fans predicted this with Jonah, but like,
I knew there was more to him. I didn't necessarily think that this would happen, but like, I definitely knew there was something up with him, and I was always suspicious of him.
I liked him originally. Then I got I thought something was odd. Then when about the time that scene rolled around with him and Lucy, something was weird. But initially, I still had I still attribute that mostly to Lucy.
Yeah.
But something was a little off.
Well, I think
then fire was when I got suspicious.
Yeah, I think what was off about them getting drinks is like, why are they still around? Especially like, I don't know. Like, I get why Lucy's still around. Eddie's not back yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like, once Chim comes back, Jonah, why are you still here? Because Chim didn't come back to the 118 till an episode later, which I get. He just got into town, but also like, why is he still here, Jonah?
Right.
Yeah. That's basically it with the episode. So basically, we get a call at some kind of retreat. The guy dosed all the people. We all were getting dosed vibes. Yeah. And we actually brought up the dosing from season 2 for the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is why this is an important scene to discuss, because of that.
Right.
Yeah. And the guy that dosed them fell off a cliff because he got chased. And so they have to go save him. And then the truck falls off of the damn cliff. And I'm like, there goes your second ladder truck in a span of like 3 seasons.
That's so true.
The fire department loves you.
Yeah. LA just got their first electric fire truck, and it's really cool. But I'm like, yeah, don't give it to the 118.
No.
I feel like that's got to be in testing phases, because there's no way that works.
The electric fire truck?
No, the first one did just get.
But I feel like I feel like they're not like every department has one. I feel like
no, not every department. This is Hollywood.
Because I don't see that really working long term. I feel like I see something bad happening there.
I was thinking water and batteries don't usually mix, so like electric.
Well, they must have designed it around that.
So
they must have designed it around
people make jokes like, "Oh yeah, you can't take electric cars in car washes. Then you can't let them get wet. You can't have rain."
I take my hybrid into a car wash all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I think
batteries are inside.
Yeah. Well, I think like hybrids and then like fully electric cars are very different. But either way, you can let them get wet. Otherwise it wouldn't be a thing.
I don't know. I feel like they're smart enough to work out that. But so Bobby and Lucy, they went down the cliff to save the guy because something's off with Bobby, and we know that he's feeling bad because he was the one who let Jonah into the house. This isn't his fault, but like,
he has major guilt,
blaming himself.
Yeah.
Like everyone's okay when the truck falls, but like the truck's not okay. So like, okay. I mean, they kept their promise to not have it blow up, fall over, or like any of that anytime soon that they've got an initial season.
Right.
Uh,
It's good.
yeah, but so we move on and we're watching the news at the 118. Every channel is talking about Jonah, and then another report from Taylor Kelly comes on, and Hen turns it off, and I'm like, yes, queen, turn it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Buck feels guilty.
Yeah.
And like, it's not him. Not really. She made that choice.
Yeah. It's
If it was his fault, then it'd be equally Hen and Chim's, because it's not he's her keeper.
right. Yeah. Taylor really didn't realize like what she was doing. I mean, I think she did realize, but like she underestimated the fact that like she's reporting on this case, putting Jonah's name out there because it wasn't out there yet. When he could have, I mean, I know he wasn't technically in handcuffs, but we don't know. He could have came after her.
Right.
He could have came after like any of them, like, you know, like that's not very smart. I mean, nobody said she was smart. That's for sure.
Yeah, she's not. And Bobby, of course, blames himself. He has a little moment here because Jonah was doing all this under his nose. And I'm like, honey, you were one of many captains in which he...
Right.
At least he got caught, technically under your watch. A lot. They either weren't able to move fast enough or they didn't catch it in time. Like, because obviously this wasn't caught till now.
Right.
Like, it's not your fault, honey. But obviously he feels responsible.
Mm-hmm.
But so we actually go to something that I love. Buck helping Eddie patch up his walls. And I'm like, you mean to tell me that there have been holes in his wall all this time?
I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, yes. I'm just surprised they haven't gotten fixed by now. But we love it. And Buck's filling Eddie in on everything, how Bobby feels at fault. And he's like, he said that. And Buck says how he takes responsibility for everything. That's his way. Probably makes why he makes such a good captain.
Mm-hmm.
And Buck wishes he could fix it. And he's like, I know I'm the guy who likes to fix everything. And I actually like Eddie's comment about how it comes in handy when you have a bunch of holes in your wall.
Right.
I know a lot of people actually got really upset that he didn't say something more like supportive or something, but I'm like, no, I think it was actually okay.
I liked it.
We have taken it.
I really liked it.
I like it.
Yeah, like people just be reading into things too much.
Yeah, and like, look at how many times Eddie has been Buck's not just a supporter. Buck's been Eddie's not just supporter. Like they don't always like. They're fine. He's supporting him. In fact, he's doing a little comic relief moment. It's needed.
Yeah.
It's fine. And Buck needed a reason to get out of the house because he's avoiding Taylor, and I'm like, as you should. And Eddie says how he can't keep it all in. Therapy is choice. He learned this in therapy. I'm so proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
These last few episodes just show how proud we are of Eddie.
Right. Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, I love him. Okay, so Bobby breaks a glass because he's really deep in thought. He's thinking about everything, and he kind of breaks it out of anger, honestly.
Right.
And May comes home, and apparently they're throwing her a USC dinner celebration, which is amazing, but he's playing it off. And she's definitely concerned about the glass.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's playing it off.
He
cut his hand.
grasped it and cut his hand bad. Like, yeah, that's.
So then we go to Chim and Maddie at dinner. Chim thinks she's wanting to start dating. She wants to go back to work. There's some entire miscommunication that's really embarrassing here. But she misses helping people. And they're definitely getting back together at some point.
We know what's happening. It's
just not right now. I kind of expected it to be this episode, but also at the same time, I didn't.
Same.
Like, I would have been surprised if it had. I'm also not surprised it didn't.
I agree completely, because that's how I feel.
And so here comes one of the startling elements, is that Tony and Clyde, I kind of forgot Clyde existed, but Tony and Clyde have announced they're getting married.
Yeah.
And I love it. But they want to get married in the backyard. And Karen gets upset and walks away. Hen follows her. And Karen is upset because Tony didn't come to their wedding. That was in the backyard. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She has a reason to be upset. Karen gets over it. Tony overheard, so she feels bad. But Karen says it's okay and that she can have her wedding here and winds up overcompensating later. But like, we love supportive. We love all that. But it's clear, Tony had a period of struggling with her daughter getting married to a woman, and this was a valuable time in their life that was affected by that. So it's clear that this has some memories that are good and bad.
Right.
But we love seeing growth, and it's clear that we're getting a little bit of growth here. And we see Josh walking Maddie through the temporary call center. It's absolute crap. I'm just gonna say it's a huge open area. It's
I don't know how to describe it, but it reminds me of I don't know, those words on the remote on the wall. It kind of reminds me of my junior high cafeteria, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's a good description for it. It definitely seemed like cafeteria-esque or like law office turned something, I don't know, think tank. It was weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like, it reminded me of like, I don't know like what kind of place it would be, but it was off.
It was just weird as hell. And Maddie feels like she's starting over. Understandable enough considering how long it's been from the job. Also, the actual call center won't be done until September, so perfect timing for season 6.
Yeah, they set
I'm looking forward to this
so well.
Right.
I'm looking forward to this. But Josh tells her she's going to be great. She takes her first call back, like she never left. Really doesn't quite feel like that, but like she's doing okay. Chim gets the text that Maddie took her first call back. Nobody died. All that. Everyone knows something's still there. They're all just looking at each other like, And then Buck gets the same text saying like, I just got a text from my sister about her first call. As we can see, Chimney still comes first. I think this is a sign. Chim is like, is this a part where we share our opinions of each other's relationships? Because I have a few on yours.
Don't we all?
We all have so many.
Same, Chim.
And then they're all trying to deflect from Taylor, as they should. They're all making comments casually about Taylor without saying it. And yes. And I feel bad for Buck. I love the
shade.
I
feel bad for Buck, but I love the shade.
Oh yeah. Like he's trying not to be completely disloyal to Taylor, but you can also see that he's frustrated. He's feeling betrayed.
Right.
He's not happy, but he doesn't know what to do, and he feels a little alone, I think. So I feel bad for him. But like, yeah. Lucy tells Buck that you really need to talk to her, and tells him to stay away from the tequila until he makes a rational decision. Tim says, yeah, we like Lucy, so next time you go kissing. And Bob being like, when did you two kiss?
That was like total dad moment.
That was
oh my gosh,
funny.
That was so good.
It was so funny. Especially like the next scene.
Yeah.
Like Athena being like, your subordinates aren't gonna like, tell you those kind of things. And Athena wants to take a honeymoon because they never got one. And Bobby's just like, let me think about it. And like obviously he's dealing with a lot in this.
Right.
Time, Jonah, the aftermath of all that. Like he's feeling extreme guilt as he does with a lot of things. So it's hard. I feel so bad for Bobby. Like, can I just give him a hug?
Yeah, he's struggling.
Yeah.
Okay, can we celebrate? Buck Taylor broke up.
Finally!
Yeah.
We'll hash it out.
I'm happy. I'm glad. It needed to happen.
I'm glad it wasn't huge. And he did it. He's the one who broke up.
I know, because he always gets broken up with. So now he got to do it.
Yeah, this is good for him.
Yeah. Also,
and it was mutual, and I hope we never, ever see that redhead again.
I agree.
Doesn't even have a name anymore. In fact, that's insulting to redheads. That reporter. There we go. That reporter. I don't care about insulting reporters. I don't like them much anyway.
I think it's time for Buck to date men. By date men, I mean Eddie.
Right.
Speaking of, so this is when Eddie asks May about Bobby. She like tells him about like Bobby cutting his hand and like how weird it seemed. And like she felt like she was interrupting more than just a gloss.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, which I absolutely love Eddie these past few episodes, but especially like with the Bobby stuff. Because then we see Eddie go see Bobby, and Eddie like kind of goes there just quickly to like tell Bobby that like, Jonah wasn't your fault, and like through therapy, like yes, he's learned things to like he's learned how to move past these type of things. Eddie, like he knows he can't like carry someone else's weight. Like it'll take you under, and Bobby thinks it's like on him, and Eddie tells him it was only a few weeks, and if Bobby missed something, so did all the other cities and houses. Like, yes. And Eddie says how Jonah thought he was God, and Bobby wants to put this on, like Bobby wants to put this on himself. And he said how he's not God either, and this isn't on him. And Bobby, like, he talks about like how many lives Jonah took, and Eddie says how Bobby saved like Eddie's life and his son's life, and he tells Bobby, for whatever responsibility you take for Jonah, make sure you take credit for me because you earned it.
Like, excuse me, I'm crying under the table here. Like,
yeah,
right, that was really good.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, and Eddie, like, he has to go because like Chris apparently is having like friends over or whatever, so he has to go. And like you can tell, like Bobby's like, "Are you sure you can't stay for dinner?" And I was like, "Oh, he needs it." Like he's the sadness I felt in that, and like him unloading the groceries, and you see like the bottle of like wine or whatever, and you're like, "Oh God!" Like I think when I first saw this, I had a moment of panic.
Right. Oh, I had like a moment of chills. Like, oh my God, he almost relapsed.
And then like he pours it down the drain, and I'm like,
granted, there are far worse ways he could have relapsed than with wine, but like it's still alcohol. He's been sober for so long.
Yeah.
Like
I know. And like thank God for Eddie. Like, such growth.
And he did kind of have to get out there because there was definitely Christopher's thing, but then also I think he may have been like a little tapped out as far as his own emotions went at that point. But such growth. He's come so far. I love him. And the whole take credit for him thing, I'm like, I love it. And then we get Tony, Hen's mom, saying that she was wrong about not going to the wedding. She feels bad. She realizes that the world's changing. And then she surprises Hen and Karen, telling them that this isn't going to be Tony and Clyde's wedding at all. This is for them, so they can have that moment again. Mm-hmm. And I'm just here like, so that's how it worked out. We
all knew there was a wedding, but we didn't know what the wedding was, and everybody was speculating something.
Yeah, I wasn't like dead set on like it being like them renewing their vows, but I like deep inside did know that that's probably what it was. And I'm just happy that it was them, because if it was anybody else, I was like, no.
Yeah. Who else could, like, when they said Tony and Clyde, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I never thought of them before. But I was happy that it turned out being Hen and Karen.
It was so
like,
beautiful.
Renewing their vows. It was gorgeous. And wore such a beautiful suit. And Karen wore a dress. It was so pretty. I love them so much.
Yeah. And we saw Nia as the flower girl.
And we saw her sing with her mom too. And I loved that.
Yeah.
So many people were there.
Denny was with them down the aisle, like in between them.
That was really good. Yeah, I love that.
I love it. I was kind of curious, like with like Hen's mom and like her being like at the time of like their original wedding, being like, like her trying to come to grasp of like, you know, the world's changing, like what the timeline was, because like I was like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we know technically gay marriage has only been legal since, I think it's 2013? 2015? 2013.
I think it was 2013.
Hang on, I'm looking it up now. I don't want to misquote. We can't do that. It's Pride Month.
Exactly.
Yes. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. June 26th, 2015. All right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I knew I knew it was June, but I couldn't remember what year.
And it legalized in Canada. Well, they're literally 10 years ahead of us. July 20th, 2005. Just fun facts. Yeah, we love it. We love seeing it, seeing everyone there. And then we get one final montage, which I'm kind of glad because my voice is wearing out. I've been talking literally all day.
I know, I tried to give you a little break here.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So we see Taylor giving Buck the keys back. I'm like, bye, bitch.
Yes.
Yes.
Maddie, G, and Jim meeting out for dinner. We love that little family. Eddie telling Chris that he has an appointment, so Carla's gonna pick him up from school, and I'm like, Eddie's in therapy and sticking with it.
I know, I love that.
I'm so proud of him.
I didn't really acknowledge it until I rewatched it this week. I was like,
Look
yes.
how far our baby has come.
Right.
My baby has come. And then Eddie was Chris was like, remember talking about it makes it less scary, and like,
Aww.
I love that.
Yes. And Athena and Bobby, they settle on going on a honeymoon, a cruise, because they never got their honeymoon, so they're doing it because they eloped. They're doing it. I'm not expecting we'll see anything about it that's going to be like an off-season thing, I imagine. But I'm hoping we get to see some pictures or something that like they stage, because that'd be so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the 1-8, unless they somehow make that into the emergency of next season, but I hope not, because like, give them a break. They need a damn break. And then the 118 goes out for a call, and we see Eddie back at the 118.
Yes. The moment we
and
all
for
was
some
waiting
goddamn
for.
reason, Lucy's still there.
I know.
I'm not-
that was what I was confused about. I was like, what is going
confused.
I don't know why
on?
she's still
I'm not
there.
mad about it, but I'm also
I'm not
like,
mad. I just don't want her there.
I'm
like, okay, you've won out your usefulness. Bye.
I'm neutral on it. I think, honestly, now that I think about it more, I think the only reason why she's still there is because the actor who plays Robbie is like very heavily a series regular in another show. So I think they're kind of keeping her on to hopefully expand her character, but also because to fill gaps, even though Robbie isn't really main cast anyways, but you know, he's become more frequent, I guess.
It's still, there's still are points where you're like, yo, where's the hell's Robbie?
Right.
Like,
there's still gonna be
where's he
those
been?
moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like his character. I hope we get more of him, but yeah, I do know that the actor is on a couple of other things, so.
Yeah, I'm like, good for him. Love him being work, but like, I'm more neutral with Lucy now. I still don't necessarily forgive her for shit that happened early in the season, but like, this Lucy nowadays, I'm more neutral with.
I'm gonna give her a fair shot.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm particularly happy at the prospect of her staying around, because I was kind of ready to be like, bye.
I mean, as long as we don't have Taylor back, I'm okay.
I can make the sacrifice, just as long as no other shit is pulled by this woman. Like,
I think it's a good chance for them to like give her character like more of a storyline, give her like more of a personality than like this, and I think they've tried to do that.
They tried, which is probably the only reason that like we're neutral.
Pretty much.
Particularly me, because let me tell you, it took quite a bit to shift me.
Yeah, and honestly, the way this ended, like I was like, okay, they made up for like the beginning of the season of how atrocious it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like
the first half of the season was like, it
hit or
only had
miss.
2 really good episodes,
Pretty
and
much.
a couple pretty fair ones, a couple just bad ones. So they really picked up their game, and I think they knew they did bad, and I think they knew they had to rise up, and they did rise up, and I'm pretty happy with it. Is it the best season? No. But they did better. And I'm happier with it. And they better not fail me season 6, because 6 is my lucky number. They better not fail me. I have high expectations. That might be crushed, but like, they're high expectations.
I think, I'm glad the season ended the way it did, because I'm glad it didn't end on like some big cliffhanger, because I'm not a big fan of those, and I'm just glad for like we got some pretty good resolutions throughout from the season. Like a lot of questions were answered. There's still a lot of questions, like you said, about like why is Lucy still there, but
they're still minor.
Yeah, they're minor compared to, you know, like I'm glad to see Eddie back on the truck, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to be, and like working directly with Lucy, how that's going to be.
I am manifesting Buddie. That's all I'm manifesting for.
There we go. Buddy.
Buddy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, season, like the last half of the season definitely was better than the first part of the season. I was really bummed the first part of the season. I was like, really? I was not feeling it. Like, honestly, I was like, I don't care if I watch the rest of the season. Like, it was that.
Okay, bad. I didn't think that, but
I'm glad we all came back for the
me
rest
too.
Of the season.
Yeah.
Like, and I hope people stuck around in time or came back after they heard that it got better. Because I feel like some people may have quit, like thrown in the towel because it was severely lacking in quality.
Yeah.
So it wasn't trash TV.
No, it wasn't trash.
But it was not up to par. So
yeah,
we got it.
There
We
you
got
go.
it raised. We're happy about it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor. We are also on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and everywhere else that you can get your podcasts. On iTunes and Spotify, please rate us and leave us a review. It would mean a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 911 LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be sure to join our Discord server, and the link will be in the description of this podcast and also in our Instagram bio.
You guys can follow me, Katie, at Full of Tarlos on Instagram and at For Love Tarlos on Twitter.
You guys can follow me, Grace, at RunandRafflin911 on Instagram and at Cheapgirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter.
Bye.
Bye.